Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope you're doing well. The transfer window is now officially open, and I thought, what better way to kick things off with a scout report? A player said to be at the very top of Arteta's wish list, Youri Tielemans. We'll be breaking it all down during today's video, and if you are looking forward to it, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you're new around here, why not consider subscribing? But what will we be covering during today's video? The basics, of course, the player profile before heading into his movement and heat maps from the past couple of seasons, comparing him to his peers in the Premier League. Then we'll crunch some numbers with more player comparisons before finishing up with his strengths, weaknesses, and also, again, how he compares to other central midfield players across the top 5 leagues. So let's waste no more time at all and jump into those basics. Youri Tielemans currently plays for Leicester and has done for the past couple of seasons. So he does have that all-important Premier League experience, and you would like to think that he would slot into the system at Arsenal quite quickly and nicely, given that experience. 25 years old, meaning that he is now heading into the beginning of the said peak period of most player careers, and being able to play a variety of central midfield positions, giving Arteta those options that he seems to like when targeting players. Predominantly right-footed, but just as comfortable with the left, standing at 5'7". However, his contract does run until June 2023, so just 1 year left on his current deal. And one of the reasons why Arsenal, among other clubs, are interested at a cut price. Apparently, 25 to 30 million could be enough to secure the player's signature. Looking at his movement and heat maps, not only in the season gone, but that one prior, we're comparing him to Granit Xhaka because he is the player that he could replace in this Arsenal team should we sign him. And we've also got Gundogan as well from Manchester City, who I would say plays a very similar role, that number 8, box to box, contributing defensively, but also in those attacks. Now, one thing that we have to look at here in the heat map from Youri Tielemans last season, it doesn't seem as active as the previous season. Now, a lot of people have said it's because his head is turned. He's distracted because he knows he will be leaving the club. And some have even said that he hasn't had the best season compared to others. But one thing that we will say is that he is situated more towards that right-hand side, occupying that space that, say, Martin Odegaard currently occupies in this Arsenal team alongside Thomas Partey. However, I feel as though he would be just as comfortable on that left, or maybe we would see Thomas Partey switch slightly towards that left-hand side. And that is one thing that we can see in Granit Xhaka. He literally situates himself all over that left-hand side, occasionally dropping in at left back. That's why we can see some more deep breath in the Arsenal third as opposed to the opposition third. And the one biggest key difference for me between the 2021 season and 21-22 season is he's definitely more in an advanced position. There's more deep red in the opposition half compared to the Arsenal half. And that's down to the fact that he has now changed his position. Rather than playing in a deep double pivot, he's playing in a more advanced number 8 role. And one of the reasons why we're probably looking to target the likes of Youri Tielemans, as he often plays that role very, very well for Leicester City. Now, Gundogan, on the other hand, is very much a workhorse, an absolute lieutenant, a right-hand man, Mr. Reliable for Manchester City. Very often goes under the radar, very underrated in my opinion. A player that we were actually linked with for a short period of time due to contract talks stalling. But at the age of 31, he doesn't look like he's slowing down. And if we have a look at his 2020 to 21 heat map, very much all over that left, not as much on that right-hand side, which is very similar to the more recent season. But one thing that I do like is that he situates himself more in the opposition half. That probably has more to do with the fact that Man City often keep the ball and have high numbers of possession, but it's very comparable to a Granit Xhaka from the following season and even a Youri Tielemans, both this season gone and the season prior. So all very similarly moulded players. But what else can we look at to see why Arsenal are looking to target Youri Tielemans and replace Granit Xhaka with him? Let's have a look at those all-important numbers from the Premier League season. Now, Youri Tielemans has played the most games out of all three players on this list, 32 times, and also recorded the most minutes as well, just over 2,600. Now, one thing that I really do like is that he has 6 goals and 4 assists, although Manchester City's Gundogan has more than that. Xhaka just doesn't contribute in this department. And generally speaking, when we look at our central midfield players, they don't very often contribute to too many goals. Yes, Martin Odegaard has stepped up in that regard, but those numbers need to be pumped up even more if we're looking to make a top 4 push next season. So some really good numbers, in my opinion, there from Youri Tielemans. And with regards to his passing, no real surprises. All 3 recording really solid, good numbers that you'd expect from a top-tier central midfield player. And even with chances created for colleagues as well, 1.3 per game, on par with Granit Xhaka. Not quite the same as Gundogan for Manchester City, but nevertheless, good numbers. Dribbles, again, in and around those numbers that you would expect. He does complete around 64% of them, which is good. And with regards to his more defensive side of the game, an area that he's often criticised for, these numbers for me aren't bad at all. He has more ball recoveries than the other 2. He records an average of 2.6 tackles per game, which is more than the other 2 on this list, and also the most clearances. So in terms of his defensive numbers, an area that he often gets criticised for, they're very, very good. Now, you could say that Gundogan doesn't often have to defend because of what I mentioned in the previous slide of Manchester City often having more possession of the ball. But nevertheless, he isn't afraid to get stuck in and get himself dirty as and when needed. With regards to his aerial duels, again, he has the highest success rate on this list. Doesn't involve himself in as many as Granit Xhaka, but some good numbers there. And ground duels as well for someone who supposedly doesn't get involved in the defensive side of the game. 9.2 per 90 minutes. And he does achieve a success rate of 50%, which again is the highest on this list. So Arsenal fans who are saying that we shouldn't go for Youri Tielemans, maybe you might want to reconsider. Now, to finish up, we're going to have a little look at his strengths, weaknesses, and how he compares to peers in central midfield across the top 5 leagues in European competitions in the last 365 days. Now, one thing that we can say that has been reflected in the stats that we've just looked at, as well as the numbers that you can see on screen, passing is definitely one of his key and most important strengths. Very good with the ball at his feet. Ball control is never really an issue. Keeps the ball close. Fantastic stuff there. Playmaking is also very, very good. We looked at his chances created and his passing accuracy. Some great numbers there, having recorded 4 assists this season. And he's very, very, very consistent, which is what we want. We want consistent 7s. When you're not having a good game, but you can still do a 7 out of 10, that's what you want from all of your players in your team. Now, one thing that we do have to criticize him for and has been labelled as more of a weakness is his pace and acceleration. Very similar, not necessarily as bad as Granit Xhaka, but also his mobility. So those 2 areas for me are potentially a slight concern because we already have that issue with Granit Xhaka and his defensive awareness. Many people say that it's poor when especially hit on the counter-attack. But we've just had a look at some of those numbers. It isn't as bad as it reads, but maybe the eye test is something that people need to take a look at. But let's have a look at to see how he compares across Europe. Non-penalty goals, not necessarily an area that he's going to be brought in for. 0.12 per 90 minutes, keeping him in the top 78 percentile, and his XG top 74 percentile. Shots, which I was quite surprised at though, 1.86 per game, keeps him in the top 94 percentile. Other areas that we need to look at as well, assists, top 83 percentile. His expected assists, top 89 percentile. So those 2 areas there for me are really, really key. But it's the next section, that middle section for me as a central midfield player, that is the most important and an area that Arsenal need to improve in. So passes attempted, 62 odd per 90 minutes, top 83 percentile. Progressive passes, forward passes, final third passes, passes into the opposition box, top 88 percentile across Europe, which is absolutely fantastic, 5.8 per game. And progressive passes received, So that is successful passes received, top 79%, which is 2.79 per game. So some absolutely top-notch numbers. Feel free to pause the video at this point or go back to any of the previous slides and digest this information at your own leisure. But having read through and really got under the skin of this player, it excites me. Youri Tielemans is an absolute must in my opinion. He is an upgrade on what we already have. However, he is not the only central midfield player that Arsenal are linked with at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. If you have enjoyed today's video, though, please do go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out. And if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing. I'm less than 10 subscribers away from 1,400, and the support on this channel recently has been absolutely phenomenal. So thank you very much. But for now, I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.